Up next, we got the Ravens. Let's break this down a little bit. Now, we know what happened with the Ravens game. 7 drop passes. Lamar was actually had an incredible game. But mainstream media has really kind of taken it to the Ravens, and in particular Stephen A. Smith. So this has kind of been the talk around Ravens fans over the last, I don't know, since First Take came on the air this morning. Take a listen to this clip here real quick on what Stephen A. had to say about Lamar Jackson and his play so far this season.
The Ravens getting their money's worth on Lamar Jackson?
No.
The answer is no. The answer is no. And here's the reason why. Coach, I'm going to remind you of this. 5 years, $260 million. $135 million fully guaranteed. Overall guarantees escalating to about $185 million. They're 3-2. I saw Nelson Aguilar drop passes. We ain't surprised by that. We've seen them do it in the past.
That's true. His career.
Dropped a touchdown pass. Okay, we're not too surprised by that. We respect them both. We know they could play, but damn it, they ain't the first time they drop passes, okay? And the fact that you got rugby footballs in the building from some offensive coordinator just accentuates your point. I get it. But here's the flip side to it, guys. Lamar Jackson, 2 fourth-quarter turnovers yesterday, now has an NFL worst 11 turnovers in a fourth quarter or overtime of one-score games since 2021. That is inexcusable. That is inexcusable. We got to look at it from that perspective. We also got to look at the fact that he leads all NFL players with 7 fumbles. 7 fumbles this year. I mean, far be it for me to bring that up. But didn't you talk about not turning the damn ball over? Now, interceptions ain't the only way you can turn the ball over. You can also turn the ball over by fumbling the damn ball.
Right.
He's leading all players. All players. All right, 7 fumbles, 4 lost, okay? He's accounted for 8 touchdowns this year, but has 6 total turnovers in 5 games. Come on, man. That's not what they're paying you for. And at the end of the day, you got to look at it from that perspective. We know what Lamar can do. I understand they're dropping his passes. I understand they should have easily won this game. 2 touchdown passes, that's 14 points right there. Right. Dropped in the hands of Aguilar and Bateman. I get it. I understand it. 8 drops overall. I got it. That's atrocious. We get it, okay? Yeah. Especially when your defense is number 2 in yards allowed, in points allowed and yards allowed. Defense is doing their job. Offensively, you're not doing your job. But it starts with him. And even though you got those drops, at the end of the day, damn, if you don't turn the ball over, you win anyway. And this man has been turning the ball over, and that is not what they're paying him to do. So you got to come to Lamar. If they were just dropping passes, Coach, that would be one thing. But when you can point to more turnovers than anybody in the league, when you can point to more fumbles than anybody in the league, when you can point to his, in terms of 1-possession games, 1-score games, with 11 turnovers in NFL worst in the last 3 years, come on, man. We got to look at Lamar Jackson and say, yo, that ain't good enough.
Initial thoughts. Ryan, go ahead.
Okay. So, look, I think I tweeted this out. Stats can paint a picture and they can help, but they don't tell the full story, right? So obviously it's been documented that Lamar and fumbles have been a problem, right? Like that I understand, right? We've noticed it. There's been a little bit of plays here and there, but if we're talking specifically about the Pittsburgh Steelers game, so many things went wrong in that game where, yes, you can say that the interception in the end zone to put the game away 10-8. But again, throughout the whole game, they were putting themselves in a position over and over and over again to have big plays, to set themselves up for success. And every time they missed on an opportunity, the Steelers stayed in the game. And that's the part of it, is that the Steelers, and this is why this rivalry drives Ravens fans bonkers, is because the Steelers just find a way to stay in. But specifically yesterday, it was the Ravens' lack of execution. But that was not necessarily on the problem of Lamar Jackson. And I hate the fact that the Ravens win this game, even if it's sloppy, we're not having this conversation. They're 4-1. So that's just where I think the narrative, it doesn't paint the picture. Lamar Jackson has played some very good football. He's made some very good throws, and he's still trying to get his full cast of guys back. And clearly you can see guys are a little bit rusty and not being able to do it. And then like the Zay Flowers, I mean, Zach, I think you saw it. The Zay Flowers getting tripped up way down the field. That's just unfortunate.
Yeah. And I was talking about this. I actually tweeted this out after the game. I said the Baltimore Ravens have successfully beat the Baltimore Ravens. And it truly was one of those things. I mean, you can look at it. right before half, it's something that for some reason got blamed on Harbaugh and Lamar for needing to know better. Despite that, after the game, Linderbaum said he thought the guy jumped offside, so he tried to get the free play. Didn't happen. So you have that situation. I didn't like that Stephen A was harping on this fumble that Lamar had, because if you watch it, Ronnie Stanley just gets beat and the ball gets hit by Alex Highsmith, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league, while Lamar's going to throw. In a situation where there's no timeouts, there's less than a minute left, he has to make something happen. I'm not going to blame Lamar for that. But I think it's funny that Stephen A. Smith said Lamar's not playing up to his contract, but after each point he said something good Lamar did, and then said, but as we know, the receivers let him down. So I'm not sure where that correlation comes, that it's Lamar's receivers letting him down means he's not playing well. But I saw this stat on Twitter. Shout out Scott Barrett. So Lamar finished 22 of 38 with 236 yards, no touchdowns. If you assume every drop is caught, no run after the catch, so just dead where it is, Lamar finishes 29 of 38, 353 yards, and at least 2 touchdowns. And these are all minimal numbers. We're talking about Lamar Jackson MVP conversations if that's what the stat line looks like.
Well, and that's what we've
you
been
just
talking
feel
about.
bad.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about leading up to this game, really. I mean, we had the Lamar conversation as far as MVP last Thursday. And Stephen A., I will say, has never really been a true fan of Lamar Jackson. He's always had good things to say, but it's always been a yeah, but with him. I thought that Sarah Ellison said this quite nicely. She said the irony here is that Stephen A. Smith, who has some of the most dishonest reporting about Lamar and the Ravens contract negotiations, claiming Baltimore's offers were so low that they were insulting 5 weeks into the season. And now Lamar isn't living up to the money. According to Sarah, he is all over the place. And she's referring to, Stephen A. apparently talking to people in Lamar's camp when it came to the contract negotiations. And he was so far off on those numbers. It was a bit comical. But let me get back to, the Lamar Jackson stats here. So this is what, if we take the fumbles away, of course, and now which kind of goes against what Stephen A. was arguing. Here's Lamar's numbers up to this point. This isn't even including the rushing numbers that he has. He's got 1,030 yards, 70% completion percentage. That's including the drops, by the way. And then
I was just going to say that.
8 total touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's having a very similar year to what he had in 2019 as far as stats go. In 2019, he was 66% completion percentage, 3,127 yards passing. And we know what he did in the rushing game, but he had 6 interceptions. So he's kind of on pace to having the same amount of INTs. Now the fumbling, I will say, is not really excusable. Obviously the last play of the game was, is what it is. I get your argument on that, Zach, but he has had a case of the dropsies this season, and it's been pretty bad.
Without a doubt.
But every other stat that he's put on here has been absolutely incredible.